The wilderness has changed. With the banishment of gods, Zamorak's forces have erupted into a civil war, which isn't very surprising when the foundation of your entire ideology is the creation of chaos. Things are gonna fall apart pretty quick. We're gonna take a look at the new changes, but first let's fawn over Moia's model for a bit. Again. Look at this run animation. Oh, I love it so much. I really hope Jagex doesn't give up on updating our player models because this would really be something nice to have. So the first thing you'll notice with the new wilderness is that it's been graphically updated using a lot of the assets from the Zamorakian Undercity dungeon. I'm a bit torn, honestly. On the one hand, the style throughout the wilderness is cohesive and consistent, and I do like that the ruins look like they have a bit more weight to them. They were once stone fortresses after all. They shouldn't look like little planks of wood that have fallen apart. They should look beefy. But on the other hand, the ground models are a bit smooth in areas. A little too smooth. This is a common criticism I've seen from people. There's an odd clay-like quality to some of the textures. Personally, I really like the new textures that have details on them, but the solid color textures just don't seem finished. This, however, is my biggest criticism with this update, and it's not that big of a deal. So I've mostly got nothing but good things to say. However, I'll still be a sarcastic little bastard because Snark is my primary language. The goal with this update was to transform the wilderness so that the danger comes from the environment itself rather than other players, which means PvP is now opt-in. Now you'll randomly be attacked by a cadre of pretty tough enemies, their number and strength depending on your threat level, a little counter that goes up to 10 the longer you're in the wilderness. But not only does the threat level increase the danger to you, but it makes you more dangerous by increasing your damage output. I'm not sure by how much, but it's an amount. Also, the volcano will attack you, even when you're in a dungeon. Pretty standard volcano stuff. Because the wilderness is no longer plagued by hardcore PvPers who only fight people not prepared for PvP, Jagex was at the liberty to make Wilderness Slayer a bit more difficult. Because it's quote-unquote safe to bring your best gear into the wilderness now, Jagex can give you harder assignments. The wilderness is now home to things like gemstone dragons, abyssal lords, and chaos demons. Also, some of these monsters are just flat out stronger than their non-wilderness counterparts. For instance, the dark beasts southwest of the lava maze have 19,000 health rather than 8,500 health, although the Ferentry dungeon dark beasts remain unchanged. With the potential of tasks being stronger, Mandrith is now a level 95 Slayer Master. He's also decided to ditch the Slayer bounty potential emblem system thing completely. Rather than accumulating potential with each Slayer task, you instead get a wilderness task reward crate at the end of each task. I did a few tasks and got Metal Dragon trinkets and some Necronium salvage, and I even got 107 Slayer from one of those tasks. One more level and we can fight Moss Golems, which can give a ton of XP if you set it up right with Legacy Combat, Ancient Magics, and Animate Dead. It'll be fun to explore in the future. Apparently, these crates can contain just about anything from the Wilderness Drop Table or the old Slayer Bounty Shop. The update is still new, so some of the information might not be completely accurate, but as far as I'm aware, this is the new way to get Decimation, Annihilation, and Obliteration. I don't know if this is better than it was. Prior to this update, if you managed to do 112 tasks without dying, you'd be guaranteed to get one of the weapons. You could just buy it. Now it's just a dice roll, unless Jagex implemented some secret counter to guarantee a drop, but even then it'd be random which of the three you get. On top of that, now you have to get 95 Slayer before you can even attempt to get one of the wilderness weapons. I started my decimation grind as soon as I got 85 Slayer, so I was able to take advantage of the tier 87 weapon pretty early in the mid-game. I suppose with all the other options available to Ironman, it's not that bad. Personally, I would have dreaded killing any bosses above the God Wars Dungeon 2 level with a tier 80 weapon, but if you can get past the accuracy issues, then by all means use a chaotic staff to kill Vindicta. I'm glad I didn't have to. The new quest also gave us a couple upgrades to our Lament configuration. I mean, Infernal Puzzle Box. Don't open it. By completing Daughter of Chaos, a short quest, a bridge quest to connect two bigger storylines, the puzzle box will now reduce the damage you take in the wilderness by 10% and increase the damage you do by 5%. But you gotta carry it with you. The better upgrade comes from fighting stuff. If you kill 144 demons, the box will prevent your adrenaline from draining outside of combat, but only if you keep it in your inventory. However, this works everywhere, not just the wilderness. So you can get rid of the persistent rage relic power without losing its benefit. All you have to do is sacrifice one inventory slot. The choice is yours. I have heard whispers that apparently Jagex is planning on making these buffs passive at some point in the future with later releases of content, much like the Shadow Pontifex rank. It'll continuously get upgraded. I'm thinking it'll be a reward from the next Grandmaster quest they have lined up. So make sure you caught up on all your quests if you want to free up some relic space. What I'm most excited about, and it's not something that was really changed at all unlike Wilderness Wilderness Slayer are the Bloodwood trees. I'd frequently just not do Bloodwood runs because I didn't like going into the wilderness. Now I'm doing those runs as much as possible to use with a crossbow I don't have. See, the problem I always had with PvP in the wilderness wasn't that I was getting killed by other players and losing my stuff, it was that the threat was horribly inconsistent. You could go hours without seeing anyone, or get attacked 5 times in the span of 30 minutes. It was sharp spikes of danger, basically all of the danger being concentrated in tiny packets of anxiety. Now that danger has been spread out, the curve has been flattened. The total amount of danger is the same, but the background radiation, if that makes sense, levels of danger were increased to bring the peaks down. Am I speaking up my ass? If there used to be, say, 100 danger units in a single hour, usually it'd be 10 danger units for 58 of those minutes, and then 90 danger units for 2 minutes. Now it's more like 100 danger units over the course of an hour, with a constant 1 danger unit per minute, but it spikes to 5 or 6 every 8 minutes or so. You know what I mean. Something I'd like to see is roaming bands of enemies or different Zamorakian factions kind of wandering around. It's kind of strange that we get ambushed by a dragon, a hellhound, an abyssal savage, a chaos demon, and a mammoth. What if instead there were convoys wandering the wilderness the way Revenants used to? They would attack the players that they pass by, and if they don't kill the player within, X minutes or X seconds or whatever, they carry on wandering. So they don't hang around in one spot all the time and just camp you. They can even make these bands one big cohesive group, so it makes a bit more sense. So you have Avernic demons led by an Ash Lord, Stalkers and Seekers led by Calgarians, Abyssals led by an Abyssal Lord. Maybe they could drop better loot. I don't know. Maybe they could drop nothing. Maybe they could just be a threat. I gotta say, it's kind of amazing. I told you guys to subscribe in the last video, and the analytics for your subscriptions shot up. I really appreciate it. The next thing I would like to see is more flavor. You know how sometimes you'll see the raptor killing slayer monsters on occasion? Why not add something like that to the wilderness? It'd be neat to see Calgarians attacking Ash Lords or vice versa. Why is the wilderness only dangerous to us? The fighting NPCs don't even need to be attackable. It'd just be cool to see monsters fighting each other. I don't know if Doom was the first game to do this, but it's a game series that hasn't stopped doing this. They call it monster infighting. Not only can they hurt each other, but they retaliate against each other. It creates the sense that these monsters have their own agency, that they don't just exist as obstacles for the player character, even though that's exactly what they are. They weren't just standing around waiting for you to kill them. They were doing their own thing that has nothing to do with you. That's neat, that's fun, that's flavorful. The wilderness is a great place for something like that. Overall, I'd give the update a 7 out of 10. For context, I'd give updates like the mining and smithing rework and the archaeology skill a 10 out of 10. The Dream of Aya, the day of release, gets a 1 out of 10. The wilderness changes are good. There are just a few weird decisions I wish were different, like how the demonic skull opts you in for PvP. The purpose of altering the wilderness the way they did was to keep people who didn't want to PvP from having to PvP. That way, PvPers could fight PvPers, and skillers and PvMers could skill in PvM. But if you want to runecraft optimally, you have to use the demonic skull, which puts you at risk of being killed by PKers. Since the demonic skull increases the experience you get, obviously it should remain a dangerous item to have with you in the wilderness, but instead of inviting PKers, what if it just increased the damage you take, makes the volcano attack you more, and maybe start your threat level off at a higher level so you can get attacked by monsters on your way to the Mage of Zamorak. You could still get killed, it's still risky, but it's from the environment and not from players. I don't know, threat level 10 immediately, so you get bombed by the volcano while running to the Mage of Zamorak. It's a weird choice. Also, I wish there was an option to keep you from performing any activity that might opt you into PvP. That way you can't accidentally turn PvP on by, say, picking up some cursed energy that someone drops in your area loot range, because apparently that's a thing that's been happening. I don't know if it's legitimate, but some people are saying that's how they're getting skull tricked. Maybe it's just a rumor, but it seems sensible. I guess that's how most rumors spread. They sound sensible even if they're not. But if you can pick up cursed energy when you're not opted into PvP, then that's definitely something that should be changed. I do think I'll do more Wilderness Slayer in the future though, but I'll hold off on it a bit for now because something tells me there are some bugs that need fixing that haven't quite been caught yet, but getting those Wilderness Slayer loot chests is fun. It's like the Elder Troves. They probably should have implemented it a bit more like Lyran's keys in Old School. In Old School, you can get a key drop and you can take it to a chest and you can open it for loot. It's usually, resources or something, but sometimes it's really, really expensive loot, like Dagon High robes. Right now, you just get a box that shows up in your inventory. It feels kind of private server-y. You know what I mean? I'm hesitant to use the word immersive because it's kind of a dumb word to use in most situations. It's just that what I've noticed with game design is that there is some level of friction, some level of inconvenience that actually adds to the game. And removing it, even though it's a quality of life fix and makes things a bit easier, does ruin the experience a little bit. For example, if they just dropped an NPC who sells all the runes across all the rune shops in the center of Varrock, there's something there that would be weird. You would lose some of the friction, which when you think about it would be good, but games need a little bit of friction. There's a value to some of the inconveniences in a game, because when you remove them, something about the game is lost, but I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. I have to really think on it. I'll get back to you in the future. Anyway, this was a good update. Most of my criticisms aren't this is bad, fix it, but rather this is good, but it could be better. Admittedly, that kind of criticism is usually a matter of taste, so I can't really fault Jagex for that. I'm definitely excited to see where this plotline goes. I really hope they do more with the wilderness. Oh, I just thought of something amazing. Wilderness archaeology. New dig site, lots of ruins there, could be neat. Thanks for watching.